Before we commence today's teachings and lectures, I would like us to remind ourselves some of the things we have learned in our previous class so that we can build on it and continue. So the floor is over to you. Anybody, any volunteer that can just remind us what we have learned in our previous lessons. Okay, Jovinta, Daniel, go ahead.
Okay, sir. Good
Briefly,
afternoon.
please. Good afternoon.
In our previous class, I learned about the history of education in emergency, INE, in 2000, which is Interagency Network for Education in Emergency, and also looked at INE Steering Group, which are members providing leadership and direction for INE. And such members are UNESCO, UNICEF, Child Fund International. And we also look at some of the functions of INE, which are to promote and sustain its members' values, and you introduce humanitarian standards, which is HS, and a statement which describe the basic set of actions required so that crisis-affected people can realize their rights, even in times of uncertainty. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you for your contribution. With this, we can build on it because we have a lot of things to cover today. If you can remember, last week I introduced this acronym or abbreviation called INE, which is Interagency Network for Education in Emergencies, and what brought about this INE and how it was birthed, and also other things that actors that participate in the formation of INE, and also the functions of INE, and also other members of INE. So these are some of the things that we have considered last week. Today we are going to also focus on this INE. INE, we have already established it is an open network. But I want us to understand that we have INE minimum standard. It is a document, a book that guides our activities in education and emergencies. So all our activities, how to go about it, the standards that are supposed to be observed, they are stipulated in that book. And how, if you can study that book very well, I'm going to share the book with you. If you can go through this book, we are going to, you can be able to know all the standards that are supposed to be observed, especially when you are working in education in emergencies situation. Before we start reviewing the book, I want us to one or two people to tell us humanitarian standards. When we say humanitarian standards, in your own view, what do you think is humanitarian standards? Let me have one or two briefly to share their view on this. Okay, Benjamin, go ahead.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon and happy Sunday.
The same to you.
Okay. Going by the word humanitarian standards, there are a few things that come in my mind. Number one, doing things in accordance to humanitarian rules or regulations. Secondly, going by the not going outside the specification or the there's a word I'm using, the ordinances that govern the lifestyle or the way in which humanitarian activities should be done. That is that's what
Okay.
comes into my mind.
Yeah, thank you for your view. Thank you for your wonderful contribution. I can see Richard Teso. You want to also contribute?
Yes, sir.
Okay, go
When
ahead.
we say humanitarian standards, I think we're talking about the guiding principles as it regards to humanitarian/development sector, both at the international and local levels.
Okay, thank you for your insight. We are all right. So we are going to look at it from this direction. When we say humanitarian standards, based on what is here in our book, there are statements which describes the basic sets of actions so that crisis affected people can realize their rights even in the times of uncertainty. So one thing we should note when we are talking about humanitarian standards, they are statements. And these statements, they describe basic set of actions required. Who are supposed to take these actions? The people that are implementing the projects. Sometimes the global community, sometimes the government, and sometimes the United Nations and other international organizations. But basically, there are set of actions. And we know what actions means. Actions, they are much more than confession. It is something that, you act. So these are some of the way we can explain this. But the focus of this statement, talking about humanitarian standards, is to ensure that crisis affected people, they can realize their rights even in the times of uncertainty. If you can check my screen, you can easily, somebody is disturbing my class. Let me check. Ingwevese, please, can you mute yourselves? And also NS, you can mute yourself so that we can, okay? So we are talking about standards here, humanitarian standards. Just briefly, we can look at some background of humanitarian standards. There are so many ways to go about it, but I'm just going to just give us a little background on how this standard came about and where we even derived our own humanitarian standard with regards to education in emergencies. Founded in 1997, I'm talking about CPA. The CPA is one of the earliest initiatives aiming to improve the quality and accountability of the humanitarian sector. These are general humanitarian standards that cut across other sectors. Okay, so these humanitarian standards, they are developed in a form of a book called a Sphere in 1997. And humanitarian standards, they have been developed by humanitarian practitioners. Because somebody may ask, who are the people that developed this book or developed this standard? They are humanitarian practitioners with specific areas of expertise and are formulated based on evidence, experience, and learning. If you start doing something, you will begin to notice that there are other better ways of doing that same thing, except if you don't pay attention. So it is also the same thing when humanitarians began to attend to the needs of affected population. They began to notice there are ways they can improve their service delivery based on evidences that were found and also experiences and learning, and sometimes in consultation with the affected communities. So virtually, or these standards, they are formulated or they are developed by humanitarian practitioners. So, and these are base of these standards. Because when you move to a certain place, based on their culture, socio-cultural factors, and other things, the way they can respond may differ from other locations. So all these things put together, considered, and these standards are formulated, and they are supposed to guide the activities of humanitarian actors. Now, standards, they are developed by consensus and reflect accumulated best practice at global level. Now, these standards, humanitarian standard, they are things that they are developed by consensus, meaning it is not just one side perspective. No. Virtually, the view of all people are considered and they are agreed, upon before they are formulated. And other things like the best global practice, they are also considered when these standards are formulated. And these standards, they are revised regularly to reflect developments in terms of global context and ongoing risks. They are not fixed. They are things that are subject to amendments. They are subject to review. They are subject to additions and subtractions. So they are not fixed. They are always reviewed. They are revised. So these are humanitarian standards. Humanitarian standards are useful guideposts for practitioners to use in planning, implementing, and even evaluating approaches to quality humanitarian response. If there are no humanitarian standards, whatever we may not know whether we are doing it right or we are doing it wrong, or we are causing more harm to the population, or we are improving their situations. So the standards, they are the guideposts for us, we the practitioners, humanitarian practitioners, and we can apply these things in planning, implementing, and evaluating approaches to quality humanitarian responses. So when we are talking about standards, this is just a brief explanation I can give to humanitarian standard, and we are going to focus now on our own standard, which is Interagency Network for Education in Emergencies Minimum Standards for Education and Preparedness, Response, and Recovery. This aspect of preparedness, response, and recovery, they are all talking about these phases of our implementation that we are talking about, or program cycle, because we need to prepare, respond, and also there are times for recovery. So at this point, let me slow down if we have one or two comments on standards. Let's entertain contributions or questions if you have any on standards. Any question, please? Okay, so it appears we are good to go. Now, we are talking about our own standards, which is INI minimum standards for our own education in emergencies. Our own standards, they are developed since when the SPE was formulated, but at that time, there was no robust details of our standard. It was after INI came into existence, 2000, Then by 2004, any minimum standards was published to guide the activities of education in emergencies, humanitarian actors. Now, this particular book, it was also reviewed and revised and published another second edition by 2010, because between 2004 and 2010, there are so many new things that we discover. There is need to be added. So many things needs to be dropped, addition and subtraction. So based on that, the book was revised and we have the second edition by 2010. Now, last year, 2024, there was also need to come up with the third edition based on research, based on experience, based on learning, based on evidences that we discover. Then we also revised this book and we have the third edition. It was released last year, May, the third edition. So this is the recent any minimum standard we have as at today. We are now in 2025. So this book, we are going to take our time to look at the summary of this book. It is just going to be a review of the book, how this book is organized, how we can get the best out of this book. And also, at the end of this class, I'm going to share this book. For those of you that does not have a copy, you can have a soft copy for you to continue to go through this book. And from there, you can get to know more about our standards, especially in education sector. So this book is organized. Before we dive into the book, I want us to also consider this issue, quality education, because the essence of INE, our own focus, is to ensure that education in emergencies continue. That is our focus. And let's not forget that we define education in emergencies as the provision of equitable, inclusive, and quality learning opportunities for people of all ages in situations of crisis, looking at from preparedness to response and through recovery stage. So all these steps, they are part of education and in emergency. Now, when we say education in emergency, we aim to provide quality education opportunity. The question I want to ask at this point is, what is quality education? What do we mean by quality education? Because some people are thinking that during emergency situation, there is no way we can provide quality education. But when we say quality education, what do we mean by quality education? So at this point, if I may ask, based on our view as participants, and also some of us, I believe we have experience, what is quality education? What do we mean by that in emergency situation? Okay, I can see Richard Benjamin. You want to say something?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, your question is rhetorical. Does it require an answer?
Well,
Yeah, no,
it requires an answer. I want you people to share your view. What do you think we mean by quality education in emergencies?
Okay. Coming from educational background, quality education entails making sure that education itself is available to each and every member of a particular country.
That's great.
It is not just being available, but you have received it as of when due and as it is ought to be received. Making sure that all the amenities and structures are in place and the core aim and value of education is highly reflected in each citizen of that country. I think that is my own view about quality education.
Okay, thank you for your insight. Thank you very much. I can also see Richard, you want to add to that?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
But in my opinion, and in simple terms, I would say quality education in emergency situations has to do with the education that meets up with at least the minimal standards as stipulated by various bodies, including the humanitarian sector itself.
Okay, yeah, thank you for your contribution. I can see also Hadiza, you want to say something? Hadiza,
Yes, sir.
go ahead.
Thank you. And quality education in emergency, in my own view, I will classify it as a state in which every child that are under the affected area have access and receive that education in a simple term that he or she understood, that he or she will understood those education and be useful in his or her life. Thank you.
All right, thank you for your own contribution. I can also see Jovinta. Daniel, you want to add to that? Jovinta, you want to say something?
Yes, sir. In addition to that, I feel quality education is having access or giving due opportunities for equitable learning environment, regardless of differences of gender, tribe, or anything that may emerge.
Okay, thank you, Vivian. Oh, okay, Chiemaka, you want to say something?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. In addition to what they've said, it's just to ensure that education still continues with despite everything that has happened, despite the crisis that has happened. So just to make sure education continues, giving them the a kind of safe and protective learning environment whereby there will be a kind of free education for the students, the violence, and making sure that there is a safe place. The learning environment is a safe place for them, for the students. And also this is being handled by teachers that are trained, not just kind of any kind of teacher being teaching them. So that is in addition to what they've said. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much for your insight. Thank you. So the primary aim of the minimum standard I'm talking about, INI, is to ensure that we provide a quality coordinated humanitarian response in the education sector. That is the main aim of INI minimum standards. And also another thing is to help stakeholders to protect education rights and needs of people affected by crisis in ways that assert their agencies and dignity. So these are some of the aim of the INI minimum standards.
Okay, I may need you to provide
can you mute yourself, our last speaker? Okay. Okay. So thank you. Also, we are talking about the aims of the INI minimum standards. Another thing is to provide guidance on how to prepare for and respond to emergencies in equitable ways to reduce risks, improve future preparedness, and lay the foundation for providing quality education. This guidance will enable handbook users to build back stronger education system, especially during recovery and development, and to achieve more cost-effective, sustainable outcomes for crisis-affected communities. Let me explain this point. It is very important. Now, if there is a crisis, emergency situations, when we don't have component of education in emergencies, at recovery stage, maybe after the emergencies, we have recovery stage and the next is development stage. Now, these two stages or two phases, the effort we put in education in emergencies, at that time, it will be easier to transit into recovery stage and also to move to developmental stage. And by the time we have a good education in emergencies, it will help other actors to be able to take this education and have a sustainable outcome, especially for people that are affected by the crisis. Now, in this context, when we say quality education, there are 7 things that characterize quality education. And anytime we miss one, that education we can target as it is not quality education by our definition based on INE and based on our standards. Don't forget, we are talking about INE minimum standards now. So since we are talking about standards, we need to know what are these quality education, or what is quality education that we are talking about. Number one thing that characterize quality education is rights-based. Any education that is not right-based to us, it is not quality education. Now, what do we mean by right-based? Quality education is accessible, is equitable, protective, participatory, non-discriminatory, and inclusive of all people. We can say education is quality education when everybody has equal chance or opportunity to benefit from the education, especially the affected population. In a situation where we pay only attention to the majority tribe in that community and ignore the minority, then we have missed this point. The education is not quality education. We are giving them something, but it is not quality education. So we need to understand that it is the right of every individual, all of them that are affected by crisis, they have rights to education. And the education we are giving them is accessible, it is equitable, it is protective, it is participatory, non-discriminatory, and inclusive of all people. That is the number one thing that qualifies education to be called quality education. The next point is decontextualized and relevant. What do we mean by that? We are talking about the characteristics of quality education. The next one is education systems address the needs of the learners by using culturally, linguistically relevant learning materials. Now, when we take our education in emergencies to Syria, for instance, we cannot go and just be teaching them everything in English. Linguistically, it is abnormal. It is not correct. Culturally, there are things that we may likely miss out. So when we are talking about quality education, we have to consider the context and the relevancy of that education there. And this is where we can address the needs of the learners by ensuring that we bring about the culturally and linguistically relevant learning materials. That is why sometimes you can see some countries, in some countries, education in emergencies, all the materials are being translated into Arabic or other languages, of the affected population, and they will ensure they consider the culture of that people in that education so that it can be contextualized. These are characters of quality education. The next point is it has to be holistic development of learners. Now, when we are talking about quality education, it is a kind of education that promotes cognitive development, social and emotional skills, mental health, psychosocial well-being, values of responsible citizenship, economic sustainability, and peace building. It is something that is holistic. It is not one-sided way of developing the learner. No, we take everything at a go. We ensure that all areas of human development are taken into considerations. We are not only teaching them A, B, C, D, and other things. We are mindful of their social and emotional skills. We are also mindful of their mental health and psychosocial well-being. The values, of responsible citizenship, economic sustainability. We need to give them a kind of education that will empower them economically, not only learning ABCD and at the end of the education, the pocket is empty. No, we have to ensure that we take everything into consideration, into cognizance, the peace building. In a community or society where there is an emergency situation, the society is fragile. The society is prone to other crises. So we will ensure that whatever we are giving them, we integrate peace building stuffs into it so that the community and the inhabitant of that place and the beneficiaries of education will learn how to make peace with one another and how to, go ahead building peace among the people, among communities and the people. So these are characteristics of quality education. Number 4, we also says that quality education, it has to do with teaching and learning. Now, teachers receive adequate compensation and relevant training so that they can understand pedagogic content and have the knowledge and skills they need to support learners' holistic development. Now, when we are talking about quality education, both the teaching and the learning, they are also taken into consideration. Now, looking at the other aspect, the teachers, talking about the teachers should receive adequate compensation, something reasonable. There was a time, let me give you, for instance, when NGOs came to Borno State, they wanted to start their activities. They employed volunteer teachers. They trained them. They want to compensate them with stipend, as a way of supporting what they want. The government here, they said they cannot pay more than what the government is paying teachers in public schools in order, because according to them, if the NGOs pay these volunteer teachers more than what government is paying the teachers, many employed teachers by government may run to NGOs, and the public or the formal school will suffer. So you see, sometimes there are so many barriers or blocks that we face in the cost of implementing some of these our minimum standard. But even at that, there is need to also consider the common ground, where you can not offend the government, and also not deny your workers the resources that can be able to help them to perform their duties effectively. Because what we are looking at is when they receive adequate compensation, they can also and also receive relevant training that will help them to have more skills. And when they have skills and knowledge, that they can support learners' holistic development. This is the impact, what we are looking at. We are not looking at the compensation we are giving the teachers, but we are mindful of when they are comfortable. Teachers are supposed to be comfortable. When they are not comfortable, even it can affect their job performance. These are some of the things. So when we are talking about this quality education, the teaching and learning is central here, and it is very important. So the aspect of teachers is considered, and how that can be translated into the support of learners' holistic development is also considered. So quality education in emergencies, it is something that when we say it encompasses so many things. And we need to ensure that when we say it, we really know exactly what we are saying. Because we will continue to say quality education till the end of this course, education in emergencies. Also, one of the things that we can tell education is of quality is enabling resources. Now, what do we mean by that? Quality education includes adequate and relevant resources for teaching and learning, and fosters links between the resources available in the learning environment, home, and community to improve holistic learning outcome. You can't give quality education when there is no teaching and learning materials. That is a fact. When there is no teaching materials, teachers cannot be able to teach effectively. When there are no learning materials, books, uniforms, sandals, and other pencils, eraser, and other learning materials that are supposed to these are things that are supposed to be used in learning. Okay, so without these enabling resources, this education cannot be rated as quality education. Also, learning outcomes. Now, quality educations, it allows learners to develop the necessary knowledge, skills, and competence to meet certification requirement, progress through the education system, and access lifelong learning opportunities. Now, when we are talking about learning outcomes, it has to do directly with the knowledge acquired, the skills, and the competencies. And when you match all of these things, it can meet certification requirement, and it can also lead to the expansion of the education system. And also the student will have access to lifelong learning opportunities. So these are all indicators of quality education. Now, learning continuity. I am glad one of you said so, that for education to be of quality, there is needs for continuity. Now, learning continuity, quality education provides sustained learning opportunities across the humanitarian development peace building nexus. So these are some of the characters or the characteristics of quality education. So anytime we made mention of this quality education, we are referring to education that have these 7 characters that we have just mentioned. So at this point, let me slow down and also hear from you whether what I have is assimilated, or there are gray areas that we need to throw more light. Uh, any question on this? Any addition on this? Is it too much? Is it something that is possible? Is it things that can, okay, Hadiza, can you say something?
Okay. Thank you,
Yeah.
sir.
Yeah.
So as we are learning today, we are talking about quality of education and the teachers. To be frank, I'm a trained teacher, but going by teaching, it doesn't pay me well. I have to
Okay.
switch out and leave it. So
Okay.
and now we are thinking of how to improve the teacher's life. After all, our country like Nigeria, all our leaders, they don't know the value of teachers. I don't know. Out of and all this occupation, teacher teachers are the ones that are paid least, especially primary school teachers, which laid the foundation for each child and each occupation in the world. So I don't know how are we going to do to help these teachers, because they are facing a lot. And as you have said that if we did not care for them, if we did not provide for them, their attention will be divided. It is true. Even up to now, their attention was divided, because what they are earning cannot even pay for their feeding with their family. Talk more of other things, paying rent, doing this, doing that. And again, they are not even valued in the society. After all, they are the one that train the engineers, train the doctors, train the nurses, train every occupation. I don't know. I just
Yeah.
this keep on bothering me every day. Why are teachers not respected in my country? I don't know.
Okay. Thank you. I will respond to that. I can see somebody, Godwin, you want to say something so that I can attend to all of these concerns at the center.
Okay, yes, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Afternoon.
Okay, and I want to go back to when there was Ebola virus.
Okay.
Now, it was something we didn't expect as a nation, and other nations were also affected. And during that period, I remember the students started first term, no, third term, but maybe just like a week, or they couldn't go to school for like a whole term and all that. And when it finishes, or when it subsided, they were promoted to the next class. So in that situation, can we say there's a continuity? Because I can see there was a gap which was not taken care of. There were things we were supposed to learn and they didn't learn, but we were promoted to the next class. So can we say was there a continuity, or can we say that an education was a quality one? Secondly, coming from a country like Nigeria, we all know our country, and seeing the 7 characteristics of quality education, I'm beginning to think. I'm beginning to ask a question in my mind if we are actually receiving a quality education in Nigeria. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much for your honest question. These are some of the things that we are true educationists. When we respond to some of these things, it used to marvel some of our people who are not from teaching background. Talking about that particular question you asked, after some time they were promoted to all of them to the next class. You see, our education is not supposed to be rigid. It is supposed to be flexible. When there is an emergency situation like that, if there was nothing like online teaching that follows, they can also be promoted, but as they move to the next level, some of the content they miss out, they can also be introduced in that new level, and they can try to push it and facilitate it for catch-up programs like that. That can be possible. And if that is not even possible, they can also ensure that maybe lessons, they can organize like evening lessons for them to be able to get some basics, because education is supposed to be a continuous thing. There are things you need to learn before you can build on it, and it is just a way, there is a way the curriculum is designed, you know. So this is what they are supposed to do. But, you know, so many people may do wrong thing and ignore it, and also just for their convenience, they can ignore it and just continue like that. Okay, for some that may have lesson teachers, they can come back and take care of some of these things. And also, even in such period, there are some parents that usually teach their children at home as they are at home, not going out. Some of them, they can attend to their children and help them to learn some of this content. Then talking about the point Hadiza raised concerning the issue of teachers not being compensated in our country, you know, there are so many school of thought concerning that issue. You see, let me be frank with you. We have done a lot of research concerning that, and there are so many views concerning that. Some things that this thing is deliberate, because some leaders or politicians, some of them believe that when they educate people, they cannot be easily manipulated. So for that reason, there is no need of ensuring giving them quality education, because it is a person like me and you now that we are talking that will understand some of these indices that we are talking about here. Somebody who has not received quality education may not even understand basic literacy or literacy, talk less of knowing some of these things. Now, the question here is, when people are not educated, they are prone to so many manipulations. They can be easily manipulated, especially during elections. You can cheat them, they don't even know, out of ignorance. You know, sometimes when people are not literate, they can even go and touch a harmful naked wire. Even when danger is written there, don't go near these things. So these are just uh, issues that has to do with not receiving quality education. While other people think that the politicians or the leaders, they don't even know the value of education, because some of them have not received quality education, and because they don't know the value, they don't even know the connection between education and socio-economic development. So they tend to neglect the education, thinking they can develop the country without paying attention to the education. So there are so many school of thought concerning this particular issue. But if we ask a question, do we have the resources to fund our education system effectively? Yes, we have the resources. Do we have the manpower? The people that today, if you really want to train them to give out their best in education sector, we have people that can give out their best and improve the system. But it is unfortunate the political will and other barriers may be there due to some of the factors we discovered through research and other things. A person like me, I started my teaching right from primary 2. That is the first set of students I was able to teach. So from there, I taught in secondary school for some time. I taught in Polytechnic for 1 year, Federal Polytechnic, Kaurana Moda, when I was in Zamfara State. I also taught I am teaching in the university currently for almost 11 years. So all my life, I have been into this industry, education. And one thing I discover is when we educate our people, when we give them quality education, definitely it will improve our system. It will definitely have direct impact on our socio-economic development. But there are so many blocks that are hindering that from happening. So this is just our thoughts and other findings, from research that we have discovered on some of these things. And that is why most of the people, they have resorted to taking their children to private schools and also abroad or even neighboring countries if you have the resources, since uh, people concluded they cannot get quality education here in Nigeria. Even we are not even talking about education in emergencies now. We are talking about the formal education that are supposed to be more organized and coordinated by the government. So this is just my thought on this. I don't know, maybe there are also other findings which we haven't discovered. Maybe I can give opportunity to one or two people to share their thought on this subject matter before we make progress. Any other view on this subject matter? Low salary of teachers. Thank you. So let me make progress now. We are talking about quality education, and we have highlighted some of the characteristics of this quality education. Now let's go straight to this book and look at how this book minimum standard that we are talking about. The book is designed to be applicable to crisis response in many different situations, including emergencies situation caused by either conflict, either by natural hazards such as those induced by climate change, or even slow and rapid onset crisis in both rural and urban environment. Anywhere it happens, you can apply this book. And this book, the recent edition, 2024, it has been realized through the dedicated engagement of more than 1,600 individuals across 35 countries, representing diverse contexts and experiences. Just imagine a book written by 1,600 authors. You know the book, it is going to be rich because so many ideas, so many contexts are considered in developing that book. And these 1,600 individuals, more than, it is not, we don't have an accurate number of individuals that participated, but I believe that more than 1,600 individuals across 35 countries, representing diverse contexts and experiences, participated in the development of this book. And this book, so far, it has been translated into over 20 languages, including Arabic, French, Spanish, Portuguese, and other languages, popular languages of the world. So this is about this book. And the book expressed a commitment that all individuals, children, youth, and adults, they have rights to education during emergencies and fragile contexts. And this minimum standard, it promotes a minimum level of access to quality education for all persons, including those affected by emergencies. So the INE minimum standard, it brings to life the principles of participation, accountability, non-discrimination, and legal protection to provide quality education. Now, we are talking about legality here. Everybody's all individuals, they have rights to education. And they have right not only to education, but to quality education. So if a system is not providing quality education, based on INE, they can be sued. A legal action can be taken. But sometimes we can adapt to abnormalities sometimes. If things are not happening the way it should, at a point, some people will even resist any change that will bring about normality. But sometimes, if people are getting used to abnormality, they may resist even the normal changes that will bring about improvement in the system. Now, the way we are now, especially in Nigeria, looking at Nigeria, some people think this is the best quality education that can ever be got. Even those that are spending their money in private schools, parents sometimes, due to ignorance, some of them, they believe if the private school is charging high, that is where they can get quality education. Those that are charging low, they will not give quality education. That is the belief of many parents. Though there are so many factors we experts that we consider before we can say this place can be said that they can give quality education. Now, let me say something at this point based on experience. There is one particular school that is here in Maiduguri. I will not mention the name of the school for ethical reasons. This school is a good school. It has a very good environment and good teachers. But unfortunately, the school is situated in an area that is not supposed to be school. Along very close to the main road, one, very close to the filling station. I think only a wall between them and filling station. Virtually, the children are learning station tanks, underground tanks. So you just imagine the danger close to these children and the distraction. Sometimes a car, these tankers, they would like to come and they may bring fuel to the filling station, and before they park, they are disturbing the teaching and learning. So these are other things that we experts consider when we are talking about quality education. But parents, they can't see some of these things because they are laymen in this sector. So, but when we are talking about INI is talking about ensuring that this quality education is the right of people. And people are supposed to have it because it is their right. And that is why even the issue of legal protection to ensure that this education is provided, quality education is there. So also, at this point, let's look at some some of the areas where this thing is being based on. We are talking about INI now. Where is the base? What are the documents that INI is hanged on? Okay. Now, INI is hanged on the Space Humanitarian Charter. Also, it is also based on the protection principles of the United Nations Refugee Agency, the core humanitarian standard on quality and accountability. And this sphere charter is based on the principles and provisions of international humanitarian law. So, and this international human rights law, refugee, the code of conduct for the International Red Cross and Red Crescent movement and NGOs in disaster relief. If we look at INI is based on these documents. Also, there are also, other declarations that are supporting INI as a document. Now, if you look at Universal Declaration of Human Rights in 1948, Articles 2, Article 26 is talking about human rights. And human rights, one of the rights of people is education. We all have rights to education. So INI is also based on this declaration. Talking about Convention relating to the status of refugees, 1951, Articles 3, Article 22. Also, the International Covenant on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights, 1966, Articles 2, 13, and 14. Also, Convention on the Rights of the Child, 1989. When we look at Articles 2, 22, 28, 29, 30, 38, and 39, they are all talking about these things that INI is promoting. Also, Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, 2006, Article 24, it is also talking about some of the things INI is amplifying. So, United Nations General Assembly Resolution on the Right to Education in Emergency Situation, 2010. This also document supports INI, amplifies what INIs stand to achieve. So INI is not just a document that just came about like that. It is based on other documents and rights to other things, especially like, persons living with disability, their rights to education, as clearly stipulated in Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disability, 2006. So at this point, let me slow down. Maybe you may have one or two questions. Let me attend to it before we make progress. We are talking about INI today, minimum standards. So any question from the house? Is there any contribution, any documents that we are missing out here, or any addition to what we have said? Okay. One more question to you. Can you hear me? Let somebody confirm to me that you are still with me.
We can hear you, sir.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
great.
we can hear you.
All
We
right.
can hear you, sir.
Okay. So let's talk about this book, INI. This INI handbook, it is organized in 5 domains and 19 standards. So in nutshell, all the standards in this book, there are 19 in number. And these standards, they are assigned under 5 domains. So the book is organized into 5 domains and 19 standards, each with accompanying key actions and guidance note. That means for every standard, for every domain, there are certain key actions that are required by humanitarian actors. And there are also guidance notes that will guide you to understand the actions that you are supposed to take. And when you take these actions, then you can be able to meet these standards that we are talking about. Now, the INEMS domains, they are the number one is the foundational standards for quality response. That is the first domain. We also have the second one, access and learning environment. The third one is teaching and learning. The fourth domain is teachers and other education personnel. Then the last but not the least, the fifth domain is education policy. Now, the goal of INI, we must work towards in our effort to provide quality education. And the key actions, there are steps we can take to achieve each standard. Now, when I share this with you, by the time you begin to read this book, if you want to understand, for instance, the standard 1, you need to go through the key actions and the guidance note that are trying to explain and also direct actions that can be taken to achieve the standard. When you just read the standard without checking the actions and the guidance note, you may not be able to achieve this standard. But contextualizing the key actions, guidance note, and indicators is essential if the INI are to be met. Now, these standards that we are talking about, it is not something that is one size fits all, no. Because just like I've said, when you take this thing to Syria, when you take it to Afghanistan, when you take it to Iraq, the way you implement it there and the way you implement it in Africa may differ based on the context. But even at that, the guide and the key actions will definitely ensure that you meet these minimum standards if you follow the steps and you do the necessary things that are required. So this book as it is this is just the summary of how this book is actions that follows. What are the guidance notes? I am not going to go into details because they are hello.
Welcome
Yes,
back.
Hello.
sir.
Welcome back.
We can hear you, sir.
Okay, thank you. So I am in and out. Okay. Can you see my screen from your end?
Yes,
Not
sir.
yet. Not yet.
Not yet. Okay, let me reshare the screen for us to see. Okay. I hope you can
Yes, we
see my
can see,
screen
sir.
now.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir. We
Yes,
can
it's
see.
on now.
Okay. I was trying to explain this book, INI Minimum Standard Handbook. I said that the book is organized in 5 domains and we have 19 standards, each accompanying key actions and guidance. So the book has 5 domains. And under these 5 domains, we spread the 19 standards. So in nutshell, in education in emergencies, there are 19 standards that are supposed to guide our implementation. Now, how can we understand these standards so that we can be able to apply them in our areas of responsibility? Now, these standards, they can be achieved when we ensure that we go through the key actions and the steps we can take to achieve each standard. Because the key actions, they have clearly stated the steps we need to take to achieve a standard. And also, the guidance note is there to guide us on how to even go about the actions. And this thing is not one size fits all because there is need to contextualize it. Now, if you are taking this book to Iraq, to Syria, to Afghanistan, to implement education in emergencies, there is need to contextualize it. So contextualizing the key actions, the guidance note, and indicators, they are essential if these MS are to be met. Talking about the minimum standards. Anytime we fail to contextualize it, we are likely not to have effective result. So, but the one thing I want us to know is the book is organized in 5 domains. And number 1 domain is foundational standards for a quality response. This is the first domain. We have the second one, access and learning environment. The next one is teaching and learning. And the other one, the fourth one, is teachers and other education personnel. The last but not the least, education policy. Now, these are the domains that are part of this book. The book is organized in such domain. So at this point, if you have any question, you can ask. I want to be taking us bit by bit because I know some of these things, some of us, this may be strange. There are also technical things that to be checking to ensure that we are following. Okay. Any question? Hello? Any question, please? The organization of the book. Enes, you want to say something?
Not yet, sir.
Okay. So, in absence of question, let's move to the next slide now. The first domain, which is domain 1, we said that the title for that domain is Foundational Standards for a Quality Response. Now, under this domain, we have standards 1 to 7. And the first standard is talking about participation. The second one, resources. The next one, coordination, assessment, response strategies, monitoring, and evaluation. These are standards that are under the foundational standards for a quality response. If you look at my screen, you can see that the first one, talking about the domain number 1, it goes round the clock, it cycles the other domain. Okay? Now, the other domains, whatever you are going to do there, you still need to consider the foundational standards for a quality response. Because this is the foundation, so each of the domain is still hanged on this particular domain. All the remaining 4, from 2 to 5, they are still based on the first domain. I hope it is clear. Hello?
Yes,
Sir,
sir.
sir,
Where?
I think you can
Yes,
just
sir.
come again on that.
Okay. I know we have started going deeper and deeper, and I know we are moving into the more technical areas, and I know definitely so many questions and other things may begin to follow. So we are talking about these standards, and we know that these standards, they are 19 in number, just like I have said. And the purpose of this standard is to improve the quality of education in terms of the preparedness, the response, and recovery. That is the primary purpose of this standard. And these standards, we said they can be applied in areas, all context, not only in Africa, but you can apply them in all contexts, talking about Afghanistan, Syria, and other domains or locations that are having issues like emergency situations. Now, talking about this domain, we said we have 5 domains. And the first one is the foundational domain. Foundational standards for a quality response. Now, under this domain, we have 7 standards. The number 1 is participation. 2, resources. 3, coordination. 4, assessment. 5th, response strategies. 6, monitoring, and 7, evaluation. Now, when you look at this standard from 1 to 7, how many standards remains? Let me hear from you. 19 minus
12.
7.
12, sir.
12. Now, just imagine the first domain carries 7 standards out of the 19, because we said in all we have 19 standards. And these foundational standards for a quality response, it is the backbone of other standards that will follow, because it is their foundation. And that is why if you study the illustration on my screen, you will see that the remaining 4 domains, they are in the inner cycle. And the first domain goes across the other 4, meaning the other 4, they are depending on the foundational standards. So in nutshell, what we are saying is, if the foundation is faulty, there is no way you can be able to implement even on the other standards, or the other domains can be of no effect, because we are talking about standards here. But one thing I want us to take note here is, for each standard, there are accompanying key actions and guidance notes for you to even understand the standard. As we progress, we are going to begin to take some of these standards one after the other. The foundational standards that we are talking about, it has 7 standards, standard 1 to 7. And in this domain, it forms the basis for ways of working across all other domains. Now, to highlight the fact that this domain addresses process standard, it was renamed from the foundational standards to foundational standards for a quality response. You know, in the last edition of this book, it was called, the title for the first domain, it was foundational standard. But now it is regarded as foundational standard for a quality response. So these process standards, they are the basis for quality response that is holistic, locally led, and accountable to people and communities it supports. They cover key elements that should be present at all levels and in all types of education programming. The standards in this domain, they are organized into 3 subcategories: community participation, which is standard 1 to 2, coordination, which is standard 3, and also analysis, which is standard 4 to 7. So let me slow down here. I know I am beginning to okay, any question or any gray area based on the breakdown of the standards? We are only talking about 7 now under domain 1, how they are being grouped and subgrouped, you know, based on how we can use them. Let me go to domain number 2. Maybe from there we can get more light on this. The second one, the domain number 2, which has to do with access and learning environment. The 3 standards, it has 3 standards, and standards from 8 to 10. So number 8, number 10, number 9 and 10 in this domain. These standards, they focus on access to safe and relevant learning opportunities. They highlight the importance of linking with other sectors such as health, wash, nutrition, shelter, protection, you know, and so on and so forth. And this link, it helps to improve security and safety, as well as the learner's physical, cognitive, and psychological well-being. So talking about access and learning environment, this domain number 2, it only contains 3 standards, and they are 8, 9, and 10. The next domain, which is domain number 3, teaching and learning. This particular domain, it has 4 standards from 11, 12, 13, and 14. So in this domain, it focuses on critical elements of teaching and learning, on curricula, on assessment of learning outcomes. And this domain also addresses teacher training, professional development, and support, because it has to do with teaching and learning. Now, the next domain, we have number 4, which is teachers and other education personnel. It contains 3 standards from 15, 16, and 17. In this domain, it focuses on administration and on managing human resource in education, particularly the teachers. And this includes even the process of recruitment, selection, conditions of work, and professional support and training. Then the last but not the least, the last domain, which is education policy, it contains 2 standards, 18 and 19. And in this domain, it focuses on formulating, planning, and implementing national education policies. So looking at this book, it has affected all the areas of education, and it has spoken on all of these areas concerning quality education, because they are all intertwined. They are interdependent. They are interconnected. If you are talking about teaching and learning, you
Ex-
may have,
Excuse me, sir.
okay,
I don't know
yeah,
if you've been moving your slide because it has been on this foundation standard for a quality response.
okay. So I am just trying to explain it. You
Okay.
can see the slides here, okay? Standard in this domain. We are talking about domains, right? The second one, it has 3, which is 8, 9, and 10. And these are the things that I've explained. The next one, we have 11, 12, 13, 14. It contains 4 standards, which has to do with curricular training, professional development and support, instruction and learning process, assessment of learning outcomes. The next one, we have standards, 3 standards here, which is 15, 16, and 17. And in this domain, it covers aspects of administration, management of human resource in education, particularly teachers, which has to do with the recruitment and selection of teachers, their conditions of work, professional support and training. There are certain things that we need to do that can meet up the minimum standards there, especially recruitment. There are specific guidelines who to recruit, who to select, and the conditions of service. What are the remuneration, the compensation, the stipend, you are supposed to give them. All these things, they are explained there. And also the professional support and training. What are the kind of support we need to give our teachers, the minimum support they need, the training before they can work. So these are all part of this domain. The last but not the least, talking about the 5th domain, it has 2 standards. And this domain, it focuses on formulation and enactment of policies, planning policies, and implementation of national education policies. So these are the 5 domains that this book is organized, the way the book is organized. So at this point, I know I am too technical, and I am not sorry about that, because there is no any other way we can discuss this thing. We have to address it as it is. I will only take one domain, especially the first one, and talk about the standards, maybe one or two standards there, and the accompanying key action and maybe guidance note, just as a way to introduce you to it, so that when I share the book with you, at your own leisure time, you can go through it and you read the the domains, you read the standards, you read the key actions, and also the guidance note. So I am going to maybe give you assignment on this because it is something that we can summarize. So I will ask you to summarize these 19 standards, where they fit in, the key actions and also the guidance notes that follows. At the end of the class, we are going to have something like that. Okay, I can see Joseph, you want to say something?
Yes, sir. Sorry for taking you aback. I don't know if you can just for 5 seconds bring back the second and third domains, please.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank
Okay, let me go back. Oh, you said the second and the third, right?
you. Yes, sir.
Okay. And this is the first one. Okay,
Go
you
ahead, sir.
want to ask? Okay, you want to ask question?
No, sir.
Did
Uh,
okay,
I just needed a screenshot.
okay, screenshot is okay. You don't have to worry. At the end of the class, we are going to share the slides with you, so that you can have a guide that can guide you in your future references and so on and so forth like that. It is very important. So at this point, let me entertain some questions. Enes, you want to ask
Yes, sir.
before? Okay, go ahead.
So under the fifth domain,
Yeah,
one of the standard is on implementation of national policies.
yeah.
So my question is, are these policies subject to change, and what are the potential events that give rise to the changes,
Okay.
since it is focusing on emergencies in education?
Yeah, thank you very much. At the beginning of this class, I said this book, it has been revised. This is the third edition that we have. All policies, they are subject to change depending on things that are coming up. Society is dynamic, things changes. And when things changes, policies also changes. And some of the reasons why policies changes is when we discover maybe we are doing things below global best practice, sometimes we have to drop it and bring up another policy that can be more effective in ensuring what we are trying to achieve. In some instances, there are times when we may change policies because they are even overdue. It is just like a constitution, sometimes when you keep doing one thing and you are not getting the desired results, so you need to change strategies to check if maybe that can give you the desired results or even better output. So these are some of the reasons why policies are being changed. And policies are meant for implementation. Although we have so many policies that are not being implemented. Yes, but policies, they are supposed to be implemented. I think there was a time somebody was one political policy analyst, something like that. He was analyzing that Nigeria is one of the country with best policies in the world. If you are to rate Nigeria in terms of documents, things that are written, but when it comes to implementation, most of these policies, they have not seen the light of the day. So these are some of the challenges we are having, especially in education. So I hope that helps.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Any more question, any more clarification, any contribution? Maybe you need clarification in one area, or you need, maybe you have question to ask, okay? Okay, Samuel Udo, go ahead.
So mine is not a question. It's in regard to the assignment you gave to us. So it's like the network was breaking, so I didn't get you well.
Okay. The assignment is very simple. We are going to summarize, review and summarize this book, and we are going to pay attention to the 19 standards, the key actions, and the guidance notes that follows each of these standards. I want you people to be familiar with the standards and the key actions and the guidance notes, because these are some of the things that will help, especially for those of you that are implementing education in emergencies projects. So many people are just implementing projects without taking cognizance of these minimum standards. I have seen in a situation where the projects they are implementing in some locations, they are below standards. Because I have managed projects in the past, education project in the Northeast, a big project for that matter, that we enroll more than 4,000 children, out of school children, and we take them to formal schools, providing all the necessary learning materials and so on and so forth. So these are some of the things, that we need to be familiar with, especially for those of you that are trying to join education projects. It is very important. You need to be familiar with these standards, what they mean, what are the actions, what are the guidance notes, so that when you find yourself in the field, you can give the best quality education, not mediocre kind of education. Okay. Any more question, please, from the house? I am mindful of our time. I don't want to go beyond 4 o'clock. Okay. So in absence of any question, let me just take one of the standards. Okay, Emmanuel, you want to say something? Emmanuel Ezekiel. Go ahead. Emma, I saw your hands up.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. I really appreciate the teaching and the training. It was so impactful. My question is there a way that in these policies that has to do with education, that there will be an implementation on salary to these teachers, not focusing just on the education and the quality? Because I realize Nigeria are just giving a very little eye to education, so much more that value that we used to grow up to know education with is no more there. Now, education, if you really need it, you have to give it a high price, going to, like you really mentioned, private school and all of that. And some of the private schools, sometimes they don't have what it takes. It's just the name that it has. Can't generally education be even like teachers, people that are into this education, good money, so much more that if you do any error, when they sack you from education sector, you lose a lot because they pay very, very well. They settle you so much more that you can even focus on it alone as a career. Because as it is now in Nigeria, focusing on just education, that okay, you are a teacher, for instance, or you are there, and that is the only thing you have as your source of income. It's like you're wasting your time because you cannot even manage your family. For instance, if you are a man, I'm talking about not just university, because if you go to university, you're talking about the hierarchy, as in the highest level where you go there and be given the best, or okay, to people that are mature, smart. We're talking about the primary, nursery, because all the schools now, everybody is increasing money, increasing fee and all of that, but nobody is focusing on the teachers. Nobody is worried. Is that there is no any way that these laws can come into play to help and make sure that all these teachers are being paid well? Because I used to see somehow, me, I know if it comes to teaching in my own view, in my own way, I can give it the best. But seeing that this is what a teacher receives or is paid, I don't fancy anything to go into education than to teach or whatever. Rather to get what I need to get there and get out of there. And I believe so many people have that mind. But if they are paying well, people will want to go there. People will not mind. Instead of paying 30,000, 40,000 money that does not even take care of your transport. What about paying 120, 150 money that when they give you, you feel like you're working for NGO, for instance? That's my
Yeah.
view. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for your expressing this, you see, I once saw something on social media. They said if you are paying maybe 1 million as school fees of your child, in a school, and the school is paying your teachers, your children's teacher, maybe 30,000 per month. Your children will get education for 30,000. So the implication here is it's not the money the schools are charging parents, but how much is the school paying teachers? Because when you pay teachers very well, it will help the teachers to put their best. And the problem we are having in Nigeria, it is not that the resources are not available. The resources are there, but unfortunately, the political will to do that is not there. Let me do what we call comparative education. If you compare Nigerian education and Germany, for instance, in Germany, you can see so many PhD holders. They are teaching at pre-primary and primary school stage level because they pay them very well there. They take care of their teachers. And the system believes that it takes somebody with high, level of training and experience to handle these young ones that are coming, rather than exposing our younger ones, especially those in primary, to inexperienced teachers, just teachers that are coming out from either colleges of education or university without experience. They can employ them and teach at secondary school, especially those with Bachelor of Education. But the young ones, because they need a solid foundation, PhD holders, professors are teaching in primary schools in Germany, and they pay them very well. Some teachers in Germany earn more than senators, engineers, doctors, medical doctors, and other professions like that. Because the system there, they value education. They believe teachers produce all this profession, and they believe that if the education sector is faulty, it has a way of affecting other sectors. So they don't joke with education. They consider it as the backbone of the nation's socio-economic development. So they don't joke with it. So many resources deliberately are invested into education, the learning materials, the teaching materials, the environment, the teachers' remuneration, the training. They don't joke with all these things. They ensure that they bring all these things so that the children can have the best teaching, and they are definitely learning as a result of that. But when you come to Nigeria, when you compare it, you will see that most of professors and PhD holders, they are teaching in universities. And the reason why they are teaching in the universities, it is because the salaries in the university is higher than what is obtainable in primary schools and secondary schools. And those in the secondary schools, most of them and primary schools, you will see that some of them, they don't even have the requirement to teach. But because they cannot get jobs elsewhere, so they choose to go and like spend their time spending when they can get any better option to opt out, from education system. So these are some of the, challenges we are having here. And this thing, it is not that it is not something that cannot be redeemed. It is something that if we have people that have education at heart and they are willing, especially experts, they can be able to change some of these things. I used to advocate for anytime, just like health. You can't just bring anybody and give the person Ministry of Health. The same thing with education. When the first thing is a president is supposed to appoint a minister who is an educationist, who knows what education is all about. Not anyhow person. It is only in Nigeria they can give education to engineer, they can give education ministry to a medical doctor without teaching experience, without knowing what even education is all about. And he will be directing the ministry. So there are so many issues in the system. And also the budget for Ministry of Education, it is very low. UNESCO recommended around 25% or something like that, 15 to 25%, the total budget of a nation allocated to education. But in Nigeria, for more than 20 years, the average is around 6.5 to 7% of the total budget. So they budgeted money to build prisons, rehabilitation center, and other things like that. But they hardly budget money for education. So these are some of the dilemma, the challenges, education is expensive. I used to tell people, if you are having education, don't think it is free. Somebody somewhere has paid for it. Education is normally expensive. And we need to put resources to ensure that we have quality education. Anytime we fail to do that, we cannot get quality education. It is just unfortunate. Okay, Ghana, all these countries that are our neighbors, their education system are more robust than ours, the giant of Africa, So it is well. Let me slow down here. And these are some of the situations we find ourselves. But I believe with people like you and me, we are advocating for quality education. We are trying our best, we are educating, sensitizing, and creating awareness. People will they will rise to some of these occasions and hold government accountable for that, because education, it is a right. It is not a privilege. That government is providing education to citizens. They are not giving them any favor or any privilege. It is their right. So one day I believe they can hold government accountable for that. Okay. So with this, I think we can slow down here. We only have 2 minutes to the end of this class. Don't forget, try and do this assignment. And when you do that, not more than 2 pages, please. A4 paper, not more than 2 pages. You can send it to me via WhatsApp, or maybe you can send it to my mail. I will go through it and award some points, based on performance. So if somebody has something to add, you can do that in less than 2 minutes before we call it a day. We still have less than 2 minutes to the end of this class. Any contribution? I hope I have. Okay, Udo Samuel, go ahead.
Sir, please, still in regard to the assignment, could you please put it down in writing?
Okay, I will.
So
I will.
Yeah, okay. Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yes, after the class, I will share it. I will.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yes, it's all right. Thank you. Any more question or addition?
Yes, your contact for submission too.
Okay, I will. I will submit everything at the same time. I will share my mail so that you can drop it in my mail. So thank you very much.
Okay, sir.
Have a wonderful weekend and see you next Sunday. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
sir.
Thank you
I
so much, sir.
really
Drop
appreciate
the
it.
handbook.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you, sir.
I will share it right away, the handbook.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Thank you.
We are grateful.